Thank you. Thank you all. Well, first of all, I want to thank, please, thank you guys. Take your seats. And, you know, the Secret Service is a little bit nervous because I told them these Bitcoin guys really like guns. But they really like the President and Vice President of the United States, too, so I think we're doing okay. So I first have to thank David Bailey, grateful for everything that you've done for the Bitcoin community. Thanks in particular for what you did for me and the President, helping us get from candidacy to the White House, because we've done, I think, a lot of good in the past 120 days, and I don't think we could have done it without David's support. I want to also thank the Winklevoss brothers, Tyler and Cameron. These guys are out here somewhere. Who, I got to say, Tyler and Cameron, I think really helped break the dam in Silicon Valley. Because if you remember, you go back to June or July of last year, it feels like forever ago. It's not even a year ago, where Silicon Valley, you know, people would whisper in private that they were going to support Donald Trump for president. They would talk about the fact the Democrats had gone too crazy. We had to get Gary Gensler the hell out of there, but they weren't quite willing to say... at least not publicly, that they were going to take the big step and support Donald J. Trump. And Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, I think they were some of the first big names in Silicon Valley to take that step, and a whole host of people followed them. So Cameron and Tyler, thank you for that. And of course, I want to thank the good people at Coinbase, the organizers of this event, and everybody who made this incredible event possible. It's great to be here with Bitcoin at 108,000, at least when I checked this morning, and as Vice President of the United States. It's great to be here. Now, you guys know I get to meet a lot of exciting people in my job, but it's been quite a while since I've been to a conference with this level of energy. I mean, hell, you guys came out here at 9 a.m. after a long night, I'm sure, in Las Vegas. You can't do that without a lot of good energy. But I promise I'm not just saying that to juice my own meme coins. But I think it's wrong, actually, to call this just a conference. This isn't a conference of people. This is a movement, and I'm proud to stand with you here today. And I think this conference, this movement of people, is where the future of cryptocurrency in this great country gets decided. So let's start by making one thing abundantly clear. That future is going to be decided by the people, by you, not by unelected bureaucrats. Now, as you all probably know, you've got a star-studded lineup here today, including several of my colleagues in the Trump administration. David, Bo, Hester, I know you're all out there. It's great to be among so many friends and allies. So, I want to speak for just a few minutes about a few things, and I want to talk a little bit about what we've done in the Trump administration. I want to give you a rundown of what this administration is doing on digital assets policy. But I also want to talk about some of the principles that help guide us as we develop this policy. But before that, I want to speak about why I'm personally optimistic about crypto and what it means for the American people. Now, people ask me why I tend to be bullish on the future of innovation in this country. Now, I spent enough time in Silicon Valley to recognize the difference between good tech, technology that boosts our productivity, makes our lives richer, that grounds us in the real world and complements our day-to-day lives. That's the good technology, but there's also some bad technology out there. And when it comes to crypto, I think the last several years have made it clear that we're talking about genuine, ground-up innovation, one that's already improving the well-being of tens of millions of our fellow citizens. I believe it's 50 million Americans own Bitcoin, and I believe that's going to be 100 million before too long. But it's not just about Bitcoin and about the value that's been generated, the wealth that's been generated by so many millions of our fellow citizens. Through decentralized finance, crypto has transformed how Americans transact with one another. It's expanded access to banking for many who may not otherwise have had it. And every single day, I feel like I see some groundbreaking new use of blockchain tech, whether it's in supply chain management, whether it's in hospitals, or whether it's in changing how we track and store patients' private health records. But for each of these new forward-looking applications, I also feel like there's an incredibly value-conservative element to crypto technology, and that's as a hedge. Crypto is a hedge against bad policymaking from Washington, no matter what party's in control. It's a hedge against skyrocketing inflation, which has eroded the real savings rate of Americans over the last 4 years. And as you all know well, it's a hedge against a private sector that's increasingly willing to discriminate against consumers on the basis of their basic beliefs, including their politics. That includes, of course, debanking users for Second Amendment advocacy or for ties to the first Trump administration. In Canada, the government did the same to kill those big truck driver protests in 2022. Less than a week later, they succeeded. The protests were over. But maybe most importantly, I see crypto as a hedge against one of the most dangerous trends in the digital era in both the public and private sectors. And that's of elites who, rather than innovate themselves, prefer to simply take over and co-opt cutting-edge technologies to assert their control over other people. And I know we believe this in this room. That's not Bitcoin. It'll never be Bitcoin, and you guys are going to make sure that happens. But as you know, there's a new sheriff in town because after 4 years of mistreatment and outright hostility led by Democrat regulators, lawmakers in this country have a choice. Will we lead our nation into a future of financial sovereignty, of innovation, and of prosperity, or will we let unelected bureaucrats and foreign competitors write the rules for us? And I'm here today to say loud and clear, with President Trump, crypto finally has a champion and an ally in the White House. In our administration, we understand the full potential of the digital assets industry, not just as an investment, not just as a flashy technology, but as a symbol and driver of personal liberty for all our citizens. And we are dedicated to seeing that promise fulfilled. The way that we see it, the people in this room are the digital pioneers of the American economy. And that's why our administration is doing something a little unusual in Washington. We're listening to all of you as you blaze the trail of innovation. The innovators in this room are making people's lives better. You're pushing boundaries and solving problems, injecting unprecedented transparency into how we do commerce. And the way we see it, you all deserve a similar level of transparency and clarity. And most of all, you deserve respect and support from your government, not bureaucrats trying to tear you down. Now that means a few substantive concrete steps, and of course the first and most important of those steps is straightforward. We've got to clean up the wreckage that the last administration left us, and since day one that is exactly what we've been trying to do. Our administration, we prioritize eliminating the rules, the red tape, and the lawfare that we saw aimed at crypto by our predecessors. We're ending the weaponization of federal regulations against this community. To put it simply, Operation Choke Point 2.0 is dead, and it's not coming back under the Trump administration. And by the way, it's crazy that was ever even controversial, the idea of using the regulatory power of the government to crush an industry and to crush people who espoused a view that you didn't like. It's crazy, but let my words today serve as Operation Choke Point. Let me serve as its obituary. Now this is my vow to every single person here. You will never see this administration trying to handicap your community or diminish the impact it's had on the economy. Instead, we reject the Biden administration's legacy of death by 1,000 enforcement actions. We reject regulators. Maybe the most important thing that we did for this community, we reject regulators, and we fired Gary Gensler, and we're going to fire everybody like him. And we know that people like Gary Gensler, the game that they played is that under the pretense of consumer protection, they attacked every single effort to democratize our financial markets, and that is over. America. I grew up in a working class family. I believe that America is a place where anyone should be able to make a fortune, no matter where you grew up, what degree you may or may not have. And in recent years, I'm hard-pressed to think of a better place to do so than right here in the digital assets industry. Now, our second substantive step is we're trying to create a clear, pro-growth legal framework for stablecoins in this country. And I know we've got some solid allies in Congress. Is Cynthia Loomis out there today, or did she already go home? Well, you know, I was supposed to have dinner last night with Cynthia Loomis. We had a little event yesterday. And I looked around, I said, where the hell is Cynthia Loomis? And somebody said, well, she's got a dinner she had to go to. And I said, I'm the vice president. Unless she's having dinner with the president, Cynthia does not have an excuse to skip this event. But we love Cynthia, and I know that she's one of the great advocates for your industry in the United States Congress. Now, I know, led by Cynthia and other great legislators, Congress is hard at work getting the Genius Act passed and across the president's desk as quickly as possible. And that's an important step. It's with good reason, because regulatory uncertainty in this country has pushed way too much stablecoin activity overseas over the last few years. Now, somebody said to me yesterday that Bitcoin has done so much over the last few years with so many headwinds. Wouldn't it be nice to have a government that provided some tailwinds to one of the fastest growing industries in our country? And that's what we aim to do. And once the Genius Act is enacted, it's poised to vastly expand the use of stablecoins as a digital payment system for millions of our fellow Americans. It'll also protect coin holders and inject further transparency into the market. And let me be emphatic on one other point. In this administration, we do not think that stablecoins threaten the integrity of the United States dollar. Quite the opposite. In fact, we view them as a force multiplier of our economic might. Dollar-pegged stablecoins, particularly once Genius is enacted, is only going to help the American economy, and it's only going to help the American dollar. So, again, we're optimistic that the Senate is able to move quickly on passing a clean Genius Act, and for the House to follow up and do the same. And of course, once that happens, our great President Trump will sign it into law the minute it comes across his desk. Now, when that's happened, when the administration will then fully shift to our third priority, which is to enact a transparent and tailored regulatory framework for digital assets, one that's pro-innovation and fully incorporates crypto into the mainstream economy. And again, I've talked to so many of you over the last couple of days, and the consistent fear that I hear with all the great things that have happened over the last couple of months, the consistent fear that I hear is that there's still this perception that digital assets are not welcome in the mainstream economy. And let me promise you that our effort to change the policy is purely about changing that. We want our fellow Americans to know that crypto and digital assets, and particularly Bitcoin, are part of the mainstream economy and are here to stay. Now, we think the way to do that legislatively, because again, I hope that our party is in charge for a long time, but nothing is ever guaranteed in politics. So the best way to ensure that crypto is part of the mainstream economy is through a market structure bill that champions and doesn't restrict the extraordinary value that Bitcoin and other digital assets represent. Right now, in this Congress and with this administration, we have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to unleash innovation and use it to improve the lives of countless American citizens. But if we fail to create regulatory clarity now, we risk chasing this $3 trillion industry offshore in search of a friendlier jurisdiction, and President Trump is going to fight to make sure that does not happen. Think about this. By locking in smart, pro-innovation rules of the road, we can also make sure that Democrats or anybody else never wage another war on the crypto community. Now, I've already hit my time here, but before I head back to Washington, let me offer you just a few bits of advice and a few thoughts on where this industry is going. This is one politician's perspective, so take it for what it's worth. Maybe a little bit less than one Bitcoin right now. But let me say a few things. First of all, I remember when I ran for Senate the first time I'd ever entered politics back in 2022. And one of the frustrations, honestly, that I had with the crypto community as a person who was one of the only people running for office who actually owned Bitcoin, and I still own a fair amount of Bitcoin today. Think about this. This is during that campaign. That's 2021 and 2022. This feels like an eternity ago, but it was only 4 years ago, is that I recognized what so many advocates of Bitcoin recognize, which is what the Biden administration was doing, what Gary Gensler was doing was a disaster, and yet there didn't seem to be any real organization pushing back against it at the political level. And let me say that part of the reason that I'm standing here, part of the reason that Bernie Moreno defeated Sherrod Brown in the Senate campaign last year is because you guys got organized and got involved in American politics, and I'm grateful to you for that. But there's a lesson to take from that experience, which is that unless you guys get involved in politics, politics is going to ignore this industry. Now, you took a big step in 2024, and I'll tell you, every victory that we win, it's only a provisional victory. You know, one of my great mentors in Silicon Valley always told me that, Bitcoin, that the crypto community was about exit and artificial intelligence was about voice. Well, I know that a lot of people in 2024 in this community chose voice. You chose to speak up and you chose to get involved, and I believe you changed the direct trajectory of our country because of it. But you got to keep on choosing voice. Bitcoin, of course, people call it digital gold. But while Bitcoin is digital, none of you are. None of us are. What happens in the world of politics, what happens in the world of bureaucracy, it will affect even the most transformational and valuable technologies if we don't make the right decisions. So the first piece of advice, the first thing that I'd ask you is to take the momentum of your political involvement in 2024 and carry it forward to 2026 and beyond. Don't ignore politics, because I guarantee you, my friends, politics is not going to ignore this community, not now and not in the future. The second thing that I want to toss out there is that we have to start thinking of the long-term strategic implications of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is owned by about 50 million Americans. A lot of Americans have made a lot of money, have created a lot of wealth for themselves, and that's a great thing. But I actually think that where Bitcoin is going is as a strategically important asset for the United States over the next decade. It's one of the reasons why President Trump, with the help of our great AI guy, David Sachs, it's one of the reasons why we started the Bitcoin Reserve, because we want to start to put in motion the strategic importance of Bitcoin for the United States government. We know that the PRC doesn't like Bitcoin. The People's Republic of China doesn't like Bitcoin. Well, we should be asking ourselves, why is that? Why is our biggest adversary such an opponent of Bitcoin? And if the Communist Republic of China is leaning away from Bitcoin, then maybe the United States ought to be leaning into Bitcoin, and that's one of the things that we're going to be doing. But that's not a vice president standing up here and talking at you. The way that Bitcoin is involved in the strategic future of our country, that's got to be a two-way conversation. And so when I talk about getting involved in politics, one of the things that you guys got to do is continue to give us feedback and continue to tell us the ways in which Bitcoin can play a positive role in the strategic future of this country. I know the Bitcoin Policy Institute is working on this very topic now, but all of you have got to be involved in this conversation. Because I don't think any of us want to wake up in a country 10 years from now that is less wealthy and less prosperous because we made bad decisions today. We're going to make the right decisions, but that depends on you guys being part of the conversation. So be part of that conversation. And here's the third thought that I want to leave you with. You know, one of the ways you hear this stated is that crypto is fundamentally a conservative or right-leaning technology, and artificial intelligence is fundamentally a left-leaning or a communist technology. Now, I think that overstates things a little bit in both directions, but there's a fundamental element of truth to it. Now, I haven't been involved in the day-to-day operations of a technology company in about 4 years since I entered politics for the very first time, but what I've noticed is that very smart right-wing people in tech tend to be attracted to Bitcoin and crypto, and very smart left-leaning people in tech tend to be more attracted to AI. Again, that's a gross generalization, it's an overstatement, but there's an element of truth to it. But what I'd ask you all is to remember that what happens in AI is very much going to affect, in good and bad ways, what happens to Bitcoin. And of course, what happens to Bitcoin is very much going to affect what happens in AI. So, while this is certainly a Bitcoin conference, and I know we're all proud of what you guys have accomplished over the last 10 years, my final piece of advice is to make sure you're keeping tabs on and staying involved in what's happening with artificial intelligence, because I don't want Bitcoin to be negatively affected by what happens in AI, and most importantly, I don't want America to be negatively affected by what happens in AI. And the best way to ensure that smart people are at the AI conversation is to ensure that Bitcoin is part of the artificial intelligence conversation. Our administration is committed to it. I want you guys to be committed to it as well. I just want to say in the next few years in the Trump administration, we've accomplished a lot, but we have plans to continue to make big progress for this industry and for the American people who rely on it. The whole of government, we're going to need your help, we're going to need your guidance, we're going to need your encouragement, and at times, yes, because this is politics, our politicians are going to need your pressure. So, have fun this week, but keep the pressure up. And we'll do great things together for our industry, but most importantly, for the cause of personal freedom and the United States of America. God bless you guys, and thanks for having me.
Okay, so we have a couple of announcements that we are going to be making here shortly. But to start, I don't know if you've seen the signs, but we're trying to set a record today. We want to do the most Bitcoin transactions that have ever happened in a single day today. So I think the Guinness Book of World Records is here to be the official judge of this, but we're kicking this off with the first Bitcoin transaction, and I'm buying a pin. So I need all of y'all's help today to go buy something with Bitcoin. This is always the danger of doing it live. All right, people, it's a whiff. I'm going to need y'all to do extra transactions to make up for this one, please. Okay, well, so we have two more announcements that we need to make. We have one coming up right now from a special friend of mine, Ryan Cohen. So we're going to play a video.
Good afternoon, Bitcoin Vegas. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's an honor for me to represent my country as the Minister for Crypto and Blockchain. And I want to take this as an opportunity to honor every single one of you. Because when others were fudding, you were holding. When others were laughing, you were building. You have essentially helped save this movement. And now the world is catching on. We are entering into a new era, an era where the power is going from the very few towards the masses. An era where from closed operations now we are looking at open rails. An era where we were too nervous to ask for permission, but now we can talk about possibilities. I want to take this as an opportunity to also congratulate the United States of America for always being at the forefront of innovation and for embracing bold ideas. I also want to congratulate and recognize President Trump for not just being a great peace builder who recently de-escalated a war situation in our region, but essentially as the president who saved crypto. He didn't just save crypto, he gave crypto the movement that it requires. He was able to recognize what most world leaders were too afraid to say, that Bitcoin is not a threat, it is an opportunity for innovation, an opportunity for freedom, and an opportunity for sovereignty. And today, on those premises, I bring you a message from Pakistan, a country which is oftenly misrepresented, people don't see it from the right lens. People see it from the lens of conflict, but our contributions are mostly overlooked. So let me introduce you to Pakistan from a lens of crypto. We are the 5th most populous country on earth, 230 to 250 million people, 70% under the age of 30. The median age of the country is 23. We are home to around 40 to 50 million crypto wallets. And that is not out of great regulation or luxury. It is out of great tenacity, resilience of the young tech-savvy population of Pakistan. We produce over 50,000 IT graduates every single year. And our youth is tech-savvy, they are online, they are on-chain, and they are unstoppable. They do not wait for permission, they are building. And today I am representing them, which, they are also one of the leading freelancer markets of the world. So today I am not here as a policymaker for them. I am here voicing them I'm voicing this generation that wants to build, wants to contribute in the global ecosystem. They want Pakistan to be innovative, just like the USA, and want Pakistan to be globally connected. And today marks a very important and remarkable day in that journey of Pakistan. Today is a very historic day because today I will announce that the Pakistani government is setting up their own government-led Bitcoin strategic reserve. And we want to thank the United States of America again, because we are getting inspired from them. And this wallet, the National Bitcoin Wallet, is not for speculation or hype. We will be holding these Bitcoins and we will never, ever sell them. Pakistan is a great case study when it comes to blockchain. We are also announcing 2,000 megawatts of electricity to mine Bitcoin and for AI data centers. So we want to welcome all miners to come to Pakistan, all the infrastructural players to come to Pakistan and build with us. And this is just the beginning, because we have over 100 million unbanked people. They lack tools for saving, for investment. And we want to change that. We want them to break their economic classes. And I really believe that crypto and blockchain can help us take that quantum leap. We receive over $36 billion in remittances. That's a beautiful case for stablecoins. So we are looking at the Genius Act very carefully. We want to tokenize our illiquid assets. We want to do digital IDs. We want to create a public infrastructure to increase government efficiency. So Pakistan is really forward-looking at all of this tech. And there's something that is very close to my heart, is that Pakistan and Bitcoin has suffered from bad PR. We were looked at it being dangerous, risky, and unstable. But that is not the case. Once we look beyond these headlines, we can see a lot of potential, resources, and talent. So Pakistan is looking for allies. Pakistan is looking for access, because Pakistan wants to build. And hence why I think that today could be that remarkable day where Pakistan is seen from a different lens. It is not seen from a lens of fear. It is seen from a lens of possibility, of innovation, of building. So let today be the day where it's not just a new dawn for Pakistan, but for the whole world, where Pakistan can become that case study for emerging markets, where we can then help the belt from Morocco to Malaysia and all the other emerging economies in the South on how they should adopt digital assets framework. So let today be remembered that Pakistan is open for innovation, and we look forward to welcoming you all. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, how do we welcome someone who just came across the pond? The most influential Bitcoin and crypto politician flew over here. Please, everybody out of your seats, give this man a round of applause to get this started for us. Nigel, thank you for joining us here at Bitcoin 2025.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, we got a rowdy bunch here.
We certainly have.
And we like that. We like those personalities here in Bitcoin. Nigel, one, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate having you here. I noticed you came out here with a piece of paper. We had a conversation about this a little bit earlier. You broke some news to the media. You have some details I think you want to share about how you want to turn the UK into the next Bitcoin and crypto hub.
Absolutely. Well, I spoke at the Amsterdam conference a couple of years ago. I was advocating in 2020 that people should have crypto, have a bit of Bitcoin as part of their portfolio. All right, I know some of you were there years before me, I get that, but I've been consistent, and we're now taking that on. And Reform UK, the party that I'm leading, as of today, we are 9 points ahead in the opinion polls. We have Keir Starmer, our socialist Prime Minister, is terrified. Do you know, he mentioned me 16 times today in a speech. I'm living rent-free inside his head. I'm thrilled to be here today, but to announce that rather than just words, we have put together, and this is exclusive for today, the Crypto Assets and Digital Finance Bill.
Months of work, ladies and gentlemen.
We will campaign for this, and we'll put it in place when we win the next general election. And what we're saying is bring crypto and digital assets in from the cold. Have a capital gains rate of 10%. And that means, you know, if taxes are reasonable, people will pay them. We're going to have a Bitcoin digital reserve in the Bank of England. And we are going to pass legislation that says that no bank can close your account because you're trading in legal crypto or digital products.
No more debanking, ladies and gentlemen.
So yeah, we are taking it very, very seriously. And you know, it's really interesting. I mean, 7 million people in Britain have got crypto assets. 1 in 4 people under 30 have got crypto assets. And yet our outdated Labour and Conservative governments have done nothing in this space at all. And what I want to do when we win the next election is bring us into the 21st century. We are going to launch in Britain a crypto revolution. We're going to make London one of the major trading centres of the world. We're deadly serious, and here it is.
And again, he's been saying this since 2020. You have your own experience with being debanked, but we're going to get to that in just a moment. One of the things I want to ask, you know, we've seen a number of politicians on this stage from the United States, including the Vice President of the United States, speaking here today, bullish on Bitcoin, bullish on the crypto space. Is it this, you're seeing this happen in the United States, is this the impetus for you now saying we need to take action in the UK, we need to do something now?
I think what this administration has done to embrace this whole area, to give real oxygen and real energy to the whole digital world is nothing short of fantastic. And we, in my country, we tend to be a little bit behind. You know, America has all the new ideas. They take a few years to cross the pond, and you send us many good things. And what you're doing in this space right now through this administration is good. You also send us bad things, because you sent us woke. But you know what? We've got you back, because we've sent you Prince Harry in return, all right?
Yeah. We appreciate that. Quite a personality. We appreciate it, Nigel. One of the things I want to touch on, you're obviously well known for the work that you did in initiating Brexit. Very, very impactful. You talk a lot about national sovereignty. Bitcoin is about individual sovereignty. Could you talk a little bit about the overlap here?
Well, I mean, I was, you know, in the early 90s, I saw the emergence of the European Union. I saw the emergence of these globalist structures that were designed to take away our democracy, to remove our ability to elect people who really influenced our law and hand them up to a sort of global bureaucracy. And so I fought against it. And it took me 1/4 of a century to get Brexit, but we did it, we voted out, and you know something? If we were still in the European Union, this would not even be possible. So I believe in national sovereignty, but I also worry that government right across the Western world has got too big. It interferes and tries to control virtually every aspect of our lives. We've touched on the banking industry already, who in many cases have behaved appallingly. So I believe in individual sovereignty as well. And Bitcoin is the ultimate freedom from big government. So yeah, absolutely. I see the two as being absolutely consistent with each other.
When it comes to bureaucratic oversight, government surveillance, we have CBDCs coming down the pipeline. I think in the UK, they call it what, Britcoin? They like to get cheeky over there in the UK, right? So Britcoin versus Bitcoin. So we're not fooled here very easily at the Bitcoin conference. Can we talk a little bit about the dangers of CBDCs and why it's so important that something like Bitcoin exists?
So the only thing the last Conservative government did in this space was to open up a department within our central bank, the Bank of England, to spend money getting us ready for a Bitcoin central bank digital currency. This would be the ultimate form of tyranny. And I can tell you, as I go around the country, people have woken up to what's going on here. And when we win the next election, there'll be a CBDC over my dead body.
We heard very similar rhetoric from Trump. I was actually not on this exact stage, but on the stage in Nashville in 2024. He understood that he didn't underestimate the audience. He didn't say, oh, I'm not going to talk about these things, these abstract things, CBDCs. I'm not going to underestimate them, and I'm not going to pretend like I know better. He listened to what was important to people. What has that process been like in the UK? And please talk a little bit about how the Reform Party is surprising people in the polls.
Well, I mean, 2 points there. The first is there has been, I think Rishi Sunak, when he was briefly Prime Minister, made one speech about the crypto space and about the fact that the City of London, used to be a global trading financial centre. One speech and then did nothing. The Labour government, we've got 25 men and women in our cabinet. Not a single one has ever worked in private business. They don't even understand this space. So we are kind of, with a new political party, with the new kids on the block, we are anti-establishment, we are disruptors, and that's an important word, because when it's not working, it needs to be disrupted. And we're the only ones talking about this. But what will happen, I promise you, as a result of me being on this stage tonight with you, making this exclusive announcement, is there's now going to be a huge national debate. Why is government not doing this? And you know something? We got Brexit even though I wasn't in government, but I forced them into it. It may well be we'll get some of this done even before the next election. And in terms of your second comment, well, nothing like what has happened in the last year has ever happened in the history of our country before. I retired after Brexit back in 2020. I was doing TV with GB News, coming to America. I've got a friend in America who's done very well, a chap called Donald. He's done ever so well.
Have you heard of him?
Yeah, I think you probably know him quite well. And I was retired, but I came back into politics because I just felt my country, I felt the whole Western world was losing its way. We'd forgotten the Judeo-Christian values upon which our civilization had been built. And, well, we have. And so I came back, it was June the 3rd last year. I said, right, I'm going to come back, I'm going to have another go at this, and I'm going to base the whole thing around the key principles of family, community, and country. They're the things that I care about, and I bet they're the things you care about as well. And here we are, today's opinion polls, we're 9 points ahead of Labour. And the Conservative Party, well, they're called Conservative, but they haven't governed as Conservative. Their support's falling off a cliff. So there is a genuine political revolution going on in Britain, and don't underestimate it. It is going to happen, believe me.
We appreciate that. As a member of parliament, we have this act now. I know the general election is, I think, a few years away, right? 2029. What does that roadmap look like to get there now? What other things would you like to see happen before that time?
So for us to win, we have to clear a series of hurdles. The first one was on May the 1st this year, when we had the English counties up for election, and we won it by a country mile. We came first by a country mile. Next year, we've got elections for the Scottish and Welsh parliaments, devolved parliaments, and I believe we can win in Wales and probably come second in Scotland. So we have to keep clearing hurdles every year. We've built our party membership. We're building our credibility. So yeah, I mean, look, this is not going to be easy. The establishment are not going to give us an easy ride. I've no doubt there will be alternative CVs of me published. They'll say the most awful things about me. Trouble is, half of them will be true. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think, as Peter McCormack said, some of the things they say about you make you the fun person that you are.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm not in politics for a career. I'm in politics to make a change and make a difference. I'm a normal human being. I've got my good points. I've got my weaknesses. But what's wrong with that? Isn't that what we want? Don't we want politicians that are real and like us and live their lives? I've done many things over the years. You know, I worked for 20 years for American companies trading commodities. I worked for Drexel Burnham Lambert back in the 1980s, which some things good, some don't. You know, I've been a commodity trader. I've been a radio host. I've been a TV host. I've been in politics. I've been doing financial market newsletters. I've done many, many things. I've got a very broad experience. And frankly, I think I'm much better qualified than a bunch of Oxford-educated human rights lawyers to run the country.
And there's one thing I would add to that, if you don't mind. It's that you did travel around, you did talk to people, you did listen to people. Even when you drafted this, what you just shared with us earlier, you know, you spoke with people from the industry, you spoke with people familiar with policy, you're willing to listen, you're not saying that you know everything and that you're going to dictate from the top down.
Far from it, and we've been in touch. I mean, you know, the Bitcoin guys in the UK have been in touch, sending us stuff. I'm one of the few political figures, I genuinely go out and meet people. I'll be walking through the high streets in Scotland on Monday, and some people are rude. Well, fine, let them be rude, I don't care. But, and I always joke that the best place to meet people in Britain is go to the pub, because every pub is a parliament. People go into the pub for a drink and talk about life. So I think being a good listener is really, really important. And I think people underestimate Trump on this. Trump does actually listen to experts and what people have to say.
He does. I was in the White House for the crypto summit, and we sat there, and, you know, there were lots of people from the industry there, and I know that he had consulted with people, as you just said, with Bitcoin Policy UK. We had the vice president giving a shout out to the Bitcoin Policy Institute. So we see a lot of this synergy, right, listening to people who know better. I just have to ask you, this is a personal question, actually, why is it so difficult for politicians to listen, right? Don't you want to represent the people, the underdogs, the people that aren't listened to as much? Doesn't that just seem like an obvious thing to do?
Oh, I think most people in politics think they know better than ordinary people, rather like the bureaucrats, rather like this whole globalist class who meet at Davos every year and seem to think they know how best we can run our own lives. And kind of what we're saying with Bitcoin, kind of what we're saying with all these things is, we will make our own decisions. We will have our own successes and our own failures, and the hell with you. We don't want you interfering with us in any way at all.
You came to viscerally understand how important Bitcoin is when you were personally debanked for very dubious reasons, not very hardcore reasons. There was no real good reason why they said you can no longer have access to your money in a bank account. Can you talk a little bit about how that's informed your passion for Bitcoin and digital assets?
Well, I mean, I am the highest profile case of debanking that's probably ever been seen in the United Kingdom. And it was, I've got to be honest, a very, very scary experience. Very scary experience. I went to 10 banks, all of whom refused me an account. It's kind of like they're trying to force me out of the country. But I fought back. I fought back publicly, and I won. I won. But I was able, through my media contacts and my profile, to have that fight and win it. Most folk aren't. You know, I mean, even last year in the United Kingdom, 400,000 people were debanked.
Primary reasons? What was the reason for this?
They don't have to give reasons. They don't have to give reasons. But one of the reasons is, say you transfer a bit of money into crypto.
Coinbase or a crypto exchange?
Oh, money going to Coinbase can be a reason for them closing down your account. That's why this legislation will make it illegal for any bank ever to do that to anybody ever again.
You can stand up. I see some people standing up. That's good.
Yeah, well, nobody.
That.
I mean, the thing about debanking was, I mean, you know, as soon as I said I'd been debanked, other people stood up and said they'd been debanked too. They were too frightened to before. It was almost like coming out, you know, saying I've been debanked. It's been a massive issue on both sides of the pond. And in America, political debanking has been going on now for years and years and years. It is absolutely disgusting. It plays no part in a free, open, democratic society. And no wonder so many people are going for Bitcoin and going for crypto because they can't close you down, and that is the ultimate freedom.
Super important perspective. I want to rewind back a little bit to you going to pubs, talking with people. I remember watching videos of fishermen, hearing from fishermen in the UK and other people who are just working in smaller towns in the UK. You know, oftentimes I think sometimes you say the quiet part out loud. Sometimes people say these things, you're saying it out loud, and then maybe they're comfortable coming to you saying like, you know what, I actually agree with you, but I can't say that for this reason or the other. Can you talk a little bit about that if you don't mind?
Well, I think free speech is a vital element of living in an open democratic society. I mean, you know, we fought world wars. We fought world wars so that we could agree to disagree. And the modern phenomenon that we've seen is, of course, cancellation. Not just I disagree with you, but I will do my best to close you down. And the extreme left have been very, very successful at this. And one of the problems has been, in this country too, conservative cowardice. That so-called conservatives haven't fought against it because they don't like nasty things being said about them on X or Facebook or whatever it may be. And there is a concern in my country that we now have two-tier justice, two-tier policing, led by our Prime Minister, two-tier care. And J.D. Vance, you know, is genuinely worried about what is happening to free speech, what is happening to liberty in the United Kingdom. And frankly, you know, I should be able to offend you.
I prefer it, actually, yeah.
Well, let's get started.
Let's go.
No, I should be able to offend you. I should be able to say things that you don't like, that you fundamentally disagree with. But it should be my God-given birthright to be able to do that without being closed down. And we have, in the UK, a major free speech problem. And I tell you what, the silent majority know that it's wrong. The silent majority want it corrected. We have a woman called Lucy Connolly who's been given a 31-month prison sentence for saying something unpleasant on social media in the wake of the horrific murders of 3 young girls in Southport. She should not be in prison, period. And while she's in prison, we're letting out on early release people who've convicted vile sexual attacks. We've got a two-tier country. Maybe that's part of the reason why Reform is doing so well in the polls right now. We've got to get back to the right values, back to the values of the forefathers that built our great countries.
Amazing, and just logic in general. I think we need to embrace logic again. If you become Prime Minister, what will realistically...
What do you mean if?
That's it, I apologize. When you become Prime Minister,
He's
ladies
so
and gentlemen,
negative,
my
isn't he?
apologies. Who put me up here? Why'd they have me do this? Anyway.
Sorry.
When you become prime minister, and hopefully we're here sitting on stage 4 years from now talking about how you're the prime minister of the UK, what is realistically in your power to do when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto assets? Now, I say that because we're seeing Trump, he signed an executive order on creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve, lots of other really progressive bills being put through the House and Senate right now. There's some friction, right? Senate Democrats are stopping a lot of the bills, even for stablecoins, something that would benefit the United States. I'm not as familiar with the British system of government. I will familiarize myself with more now that we have you running for president and to be prime minister in the next few years. But what is realistically in your power once you're in power?
What is in my power now is to change the whole debate. And my appearance with you on stage is going to spark a massive national debate. There are many people now live watching this in the United Kingdom. I'm sure the Labour and Conservative parties will say, oh dear, why didn't we think of that? So I think in the short term, we can change at least the national argument. I made the point already that 1 in 4 youngsters already has a crypto or digital asset of, and it's important to include those as well in this whole debate. In government, you have to have a majority in the House of Commons. You have to have a majority of MPs by winning the individual districts, constituencies. And once you've done that, you have a mandate, you can pretty much do within reason what you want. So, you know, this isn't going to happen overnight. I wish the election was sooner than 2029, but it gives us a long time to build up the activist base, what I call the People's Army. The People's Army of folk who want real fundamental change. The People's Army who say, we want politicians, not who just want to be prime minister or have a ministerial car, but actually want to affect real, genuine, radical change. And I'm a radical. I mean, I am, you know, I'm probably the most disliked human being by the political class in Britain that has been for over 100 years. And you know what? If they hate me, but increasingly the people love me, I reckon I'm in the right place.
Nigel, we're winding down. I just want to say thank you so much again for flying across the Atlantic to do this with us. But we were talking backstage about one last quite exciting announcement that you have to make. So I want to give you the floor to let the audience know what else you have.
Well, thank you. The other thing I'm going to announce tonight, which we've held back just for you, Frank, at this conference, is that as of now, provided you are an eligible UK donor, you can go to reformparty.uk. And as of now, we are the first political party in Britain who can accept donations in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So once again, we're being innovative. We're way behind you in America. But as of now, people with Bitcoin can give us money, provided they're eligible. And it's all part of what we are. And my message to the British public, my message particularly to young people, is help us to help you bring our country properly into the 21st century. Let's recognize that crypto, Bitcoin, digital assets are here to stay. And it's really funny because when I first advocated this 5 years ago, I had the Financial Times, the governor of the Bank of England, all saying the whole thing was a Ponzi scheme, you'd lose all your money. And it just goes to show the establishment nearly always, all through history, gets pretty much everything wrong. It's all about disruptors, it's all about innovators, it's all about freedom fighters. And I have to say, I might be here today before a predominantly American audience, but you know what, folks? We're all part of the same movement for individual freedom, for liberty, for being the masters of our own destiny. And I'm very, very proud and happy that you asked me to come. I've loved every minute of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a minute left. I think he deserves a standing applause for that time. So, Nigel, feel free to give him a last final word, but I think you said it perfectly there. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us. A complete pleasure to have you here. We look forward to doing this again, hopefully the next few years, and also when he becomes the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
I'll come back whether I'm Prime Minister or not. I will come back. I'll be here.
Give it in. We'll hold him up here. We got the champion here, Nigel Farage, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Join me in welcoming to stage our moderator, Aaron Arnold from Altcoin Daily. We have Eric Trump. Let's get a roar, everyone. We have Donald Trump Jr. We have Mike Ho from American Bitcoin. And we have Matt Prusak from American Bitcoin. Let's go. This is an incredible panel. Enjoy, everyone.
All right. Let them hear it, guys. Woo!
How are you, Las Vegas?
Take a seat, gentlemen, please. It is amazing to be on stage with these legends. Guys, promises made, promises kept. How does it feel to be building a Bitcoin company in a Bitcoin-friendly country?
Woo! Well, Las Vegas, we love you to death. We absolutely love you to death. Our family loves you. Hey guys, we're bringing Bitcoin to America, and America is going to win the crypto revolution. That much I can tell you right now. We finally have a competent president in the White House. And we have a president who loves this industry and is behind this industry 100%. Hey guys, I'm telling you, we as a family could not be more excited about this, and amazing things to come with this group of people on stage right now.
Listen, I agree. It's amazing. I know my father made a lot of promises to the crypto community, to the Bitcoin community. When I see the growth from Nashville last year to this, you understand you're really on the precipice of something special, and that includes all those who've been in this. From our standpoint in the private sector, I mean, between Eric, myself, I think we can show our true level of commitment when you look at all of the things we're doing in this space. Obviously, you have what we're doing here with American Bitcoin from the mining side. I think you saw all the announcement yesterday. Truth Social, TMTG, committing $2.5 billion to a Bitcoin treasury. And then, you know, the trifecta of crypto, you have what we're doing with World Liberty and USD1 from a DeFi platform. And so, you know, we didn't just talk about the sound bites. We're actually executing on all of the things, and we're very long crypto. I mean, it's a huge part of everything that we do right now.
And, you know, so my name is Aaron Arnold. I've millions of followers online at Altcoin Daily. Of course, you know the Trump brothers. I want to, and guys, anytime, at any point, anybody's feel free to jump in, and we're all going to have a conversation. I want to get to know these two guys right now, the leaders of American Bitcoin, the Trump's mining company. And, you know, tell us, you guys were working in Bitcoin mining before President Trump got elected. You have been here for years, and you're here this year. How is it different this year? Is it a night and day difference?
There was a chance that we would not be sitting here today. The previous administration and their anti-crypto rhetoric, the proposed bills, the proposed 30% excise tax to miners, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
We could be an orange for Bitcoin, but it'd be an orange jumpsuit based on some of the ways they were prosecuting these things, right?
Absolutely.
Slightly different kind of orange, not exactly for me.
And on that point, now you have regulators hosting roundtables with the industry leaders working hand in hand in charting a path forward. I'll give an example. I'll give an analogy. I'll give a metaphor. Before, if you wanted to get from point A to point B, and you knew the path was littered with landmines, but you didn't know where they were. And when you find out, it's too late. That's enforcement with lawsuits. Now imagine getting from A to B, but the regulators are there, side by side with detectors, You cross from A to B together while mapping out where the landmines are for everyone else to know how to get past safely for the next travelers. It's truly incredible to be making America the crypto capital of the world.
I could not agree more. You could feel it, Mike, right? You could just feel in the air. Things have changed, right? We've obviously been through so many roller coasters, ups and downs, but every time the up is higher, right? Every time is a little bit better, and the time truly is now.
I think one of the things, I don't know, everyone didn't have the benefit of doing this. I was in yesterday and I spoke on this stage, and the vice president then had a roundtable with David Sachs, who's the crypto czar for the White House. And I got to just sit in on the room and listen. Obviously, some of the biggest leaders in the space. I'm sure you all know every person that was in the room, and you could see just in the responses, it wasn't your typical DC politician, like, here's the 4 things that someone gave me sound bites that I had to read off, and we checked that box. You could actually see everyone in the room just breathe a sigh of relief, because not only did the vice president, but obviously the crypto czar had such a fundamental understanding of the issues, of the space, invested in it themselves. These are people who've been in it for years and got it. That's such a big deal, where in Washington, the people who are making these rules, hey, crypto's big, it's sexy, so we're gonna put the person who has the most tenure. They don't have to know anything about the space. They're gonna make trillion-dollar decisions that they know nothing about. You could see everyone in the room was like, oh, thank God, they get it. And I think that's gonna bode very well for the community.
Let me
We getting called off?
They're a violinist?
Was that bad?
Let me ask you guys this, because I've been talking to the tens of thousands of people watching the conference right now, and of course there's millions and millions watching at home, and it's very rare we get both Trump brothers to talk about crypto on the same stage. And this is something that people have been wondering. Which one of you got more into Bitcoin first?
I'd say Eric was a little bit earlier than me, actually. I got a lot of my time for the last decade has actually been focused on politics, and it's sort of nice to be like, hey, we've run our last race. Now I'm fully, out of that space and to get back into focus. I think we all sort of experienced it a little bit in that, between the two of us, I think we're the most subpoenaed people in the history of the world. I think I've done more congressional testimony than anyone, and what we learned in those processes, as we were debanked, as we lost insurance, as people that we would have been able to call and they would have picked up the phone call on the first ring for decades, no longer even answered, we realized how many of the traditional sort of TradFi systems were actually broken. I always likened it it was a Ponzi scheme that we were a part of that we didn't realize we were a part of. We were just so far up in the pyramid that it just sort of worked. And you realized how many people in America probably were getting screwed, whether it was because of political beliefs or things that they had done, and they didn't have those opportunities. And so this whole notion of democratizing finance, that's not going to be done in the traditional banking ways. That's going to be done in crypto.
Every single person in here got those calls, right? I mean, Don and I were getting these on behalf of commercial buildings, on behalf of hard assets. Hey, guess what? Your bank account is gone. The 600 people that you have working in the hotel that's 700 yards behind us right now that I built, you no longer have a traditional bank to bank that hotel because they don't like the fact that you're wearing a hat that's red that says, "Make America Great Again." Guys, we probably would have never found crypto had it not been for the very same scumbags that were coming after all of you. I mean, how many people in here? I've heard the stories from everyone. How many people in here had Wells Fargo call them up and, you know what? I owned 1 Bitcoin, and because of that, they found out and they canceled my accounts. I mean, my accounts just stopped working. And guys, you realize how corrupt the system is. I mean, every single person this system was weaponized. Traditional finance was absolutely weaponized. And, I always say, the enemy of your enemy is often your friend. That's what happened between the Trump family and the crypto community. And I'm not sure if we would have won the same way. I think we would have won, but I'm not sure if we would have won in the same decisive manner had it not been for this incredible community that was by our side the entire time. And I hate using the word hate, but honestly, I would love to see some of the big banks go extinct, because honestly, they deserve it. You know, and the fact that they've been allowed to get away with murder for as long as they have is honestly kind of shocking. I use this analogy all the time, but obviously I run a very big real estate company. Every Friday at 5 o'clock, we're waiting for a wire to come in. The SWIFT system is broken, but not a single person outside the crypto community has talked about this system that's so fundamentally flawed. It works 40 hours a week, barely. You have traditional banking in this country that runs 9 to 5 with an hour and a half lunch break. Go try and get a mortgage on your house. It takes 120 days, of which case at the end of it, they deny you even though they've banked you forever. They say your money's safe when, you deposit $1 million in a bank and they keep $100,000 of it and they go spend your money somewhere else. You go try and pull out more than $5,000 and you're on some terrorist watch list somewhere. I mean, the whole system, guys, is broken. And now all of a sudden you have crypto, which solves all the problems. It makes everything cheaper. It makes it faster. It makes it safer. It makes it more transparent. It makes the whole system more functional. And you wonder why these massive buildings that dot the skylines of every city around the world, you wonder why these buildings even exist, and the thousands of people that are pushing antiquated paper in these buildings. And guys, they're fearful of this room. They're fearful of all of us, and they better adapt, otherwise they're going to get run over, and they're going to get run over really, really quickly.
Let me ask the Trump brothers one more question, and the next ones I'm going to throw it to these guys over here, the American Bitcoin team. But like I said, I've been talking with everybody in the conference, and something that you revealed in Bitcoin Mina, Abu Dhabi, Eric, on your speech, is that you have known Michael Saylor, both of you, for 20 years. And he in fact helped kind of talk to you about Bitcoin and get you to realize the value prop. And now, Michael Saylor, he's always so tactful. He never likes to reveal personal conversations between him and the Trump family. Could you tell us what Michael Saylor said to you that finally got you thinking, maybe there is value here?
So Michael's been a great friend of mine. And by the way, everybody needs to give him a round of applause because he's great, truly one of the greatest. Bitcoin is so fortunate to have him. Crypto is so fortunate to have him. But he's truly one of the great spokespeople. But I've known Michael for 20 years, long before he even went down the Bitcoin route. We were friends from New York. But I was with him about a year ago. He goes, Eric, here's the play. You need to mortgage Mar-a-Lago right now. You need to take $2 billion out on Mar-a-Lago right now, and you need to go long Bitcoin. And I go, I don't know, if I mortgage my father's house right now, I'm not sure if he's, and by the way, he's a total Bitcoin maxi, but I'm not sure if he's going to be thrilled. But, the amazing thing about Michael Saylor is he is truly one of the most pure, incredible people. He tells everybody, including Mike, right, including Matt, including our entire team, he goes, guys, do what I'm doing. Do what I'm doing. There's such incredible opportunity. I've never seen that in any other industry where you have the titan of the industry that's literally advocating for smart people to compete against them. And that's how much Michael Saylor loves this industry. And I think all of us owe him a tremendous debt of gratitude because what he's done for all of us is tremendous.
So we have the American Bitcoin team up here. And, it's been about 2 months since the announcement of Hut 8, a Bitcoin mining company, joining up with the Trump's American data center. And explain to me what's going on, what's new since then, and what is the business model? You're a little bit different from a normal mining company, correct? In that you're not just competing for the most hash rate ever, you're also competing for the most Bitcoin ever, kind of like a MicroStrategy.
Well, to your first question, we've been busy stacking sats. Our mandate at American Bitcoin is simple. We want to increase the Bitcoin per share for our shareholders, and we do this through a variety of ways. I think I actually mined my first Bitcoin before I had my first legal drink. I've been in the space for some time. I've seen the industry evolve. I've seen it scale. I've seen it institutionalize. We're known to be one of the most efficient, lowest cost operators. We've been doing it for a very long time. So we see Bitcoin mining as just a foundational layer of being able to accumulate more accretive Bitcoin for our shareholders at a discount to what the market can buy Bitcoin for, a significant discount. And then there's a value in the volatility of the stock. Usually volatility carries a negative connotation, But in here, it's the volatility that allows us to raise very low-cost converts to even accelerate our accumulation of Bitcoin. But measure our success by increasing the Bitcoin per share for our shareholders. When you buy an ETF, it's always a ratio of 1. The value of Bitcoin will probably go up, but your ownership will always have a ratio of 1. At American Bitcoin, we're an actively managed company, and our aim, measure our success by increasing that static number year over year.
What I would say is that, to Mike's point, we are looking for ways to accumulate as much Bitcoin as fast as possible, right? So we're running lean, we're stacking sats via our mining operations, we're going to stack sites with accumulation. How do we maximize that balance sheet? How do we make sure that we're a leader in the space? How do we create data centers here in the United States? How do we use energy here in the United States? What can we do to make sure that if there's hash rate globally, we're making sure that at the end of the day, we're making sure the US stays a category leader in Bitcoin mining and in Bitcoin accumulation?
Guys, let's talk to the average American right now. I talk to millions of people every day on my channel, and what I hear a lot is, well, Bitcoin's already over 100K. I can't buy one whole Bitcoin anymore. I could buy maybe 0.1 Bitcoin or a fraction of a Bitcoin, but I don't know, it doesn't seem worth it. What would you tell to somebody that is saying, should I buy 0.1 Bitcoin? Is a fraction of 1 Bitcoin worth it?
I think without question. Listen, I think for everyone, the second you get in it, right? Even as a student of finance and whatever it may be, once you're vested, all of a sudden you're paying attention. You're in the details. You don't have to buy 100,000, at Bitcoin. Like you buy as much as you can, whatever percent you can, and once you have that vesting, you're all of a sudden committed. You're paying attention to the details, you're understanding the game a lot more, you figure it out. I mean, people have said, hey, Bitcoin's too expensive, they said it at 1,000, they said it at 10,000, they said it at 50,000, this is a story that's pretty old right now. This has been going on for over a decade where it's too much. So, I think it's just important to get people in the game, to start understanding that, to utilize the other platforms, to be able to figure out DeFi. I think the more you do that, the more people are vested, the further away you get away from the traditional finance systems, and I think the whole community grows accordingly.
Guys, there's one other aspect about this. I mean, all of us travel all over the world. Don and I travel hundreds of thousands of miles a year. I'm telling you right now, everybody in the world wants Bitcoin. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're, royal families. I don't care if you're the biggest, financial institutions. Everybody wants Bitcoin. Everybody is buying Bitcoin. If you go back 12 months, there were probably less than 100 companies that were treasuring Bitcoin that really had any. And now every single day it's another sovereign wealth fund. Look what GameStop just did. Look what Truth Social did. Every single day, people are allocating billions and billions of dollars to it. 0.1 Bitcoin is going to be worth an absolute fortune. And, look at the OTCs. The OTCs have the least amount of Bitcoin ever on their books, right? I mean, the arrow's going straight down as the price of Bitcoin is going straight up. I've got a dear friend. He spoke on the stage before, Simon from Metaplan, and I asked him, what's the hardest problem? And he goes, honestly, we're running out of Bitcoin. It's hard to find on the exchanges. I mean, guys, everybody wants it. No one wants to get rid of it. Everybody wants it as a balance sheet item. Every family, and this isn't America. This is the entire Middle East. This is Africa. This is all of Asia. This is Fortune 500. I mean, this is the biggest private offices. Everybody wants it. No one wants to get rid of it, and it's incredibly powerful. And I think you're going to see the value skyrocket. So don't be afraid of the integer. You don't need to buy things in whole integers. You can buy things in fractions of integers. And I think that's actually how Satoshi designed the system, to actually be designed to buy in fractions of integers. We just are so early to the game.
I think it was only a couple of weeks ago that marked the anniversary of the infamous pizza purchase, RIP. It wasn't that long ago that it took 10,000 Bitcoin to buy just 2 pizzas. 0.1 Bitcoin at that time would maybe equate to a crumb. 0.1 Bitcoin today is like 1,000 pizzas. Take that into perspective. 0.1 Bitcoin today, 1,000 pizzas. Tomorrow, someday in the future, a luxury car, a house. a plane. It's not about the ownership of Bitcoin. It's just the love for Bitcoin is so clearly growing and spreading across everyone. Just start accumulating. Just start accumulating once that 10 Satoshis, 100 Satoshis, it's never too late.
Fully agree, and that's worldwide, right? You just got to get off of zero, Mike, right? Just get off of zero. That's it. Start one Satoshi at a time, stack the sats, get off of zero.
All right, guys. One of my final questions. Listen, we could talk about the intricacies of Bitcoin mining. We could talk about policy. Let's get to what you guys really want to know about. Bitcoin price outlook. Right? Now, Don Jr. said the other day he believes Bitcoin's going to the moon. Eric said about 6 months ago in Abu Dhabi he believes Bitcoin eventually hits $1 million. Let's take it on a little bit of a smaller time frame. I want to make some headlines, guys. Let's think about 1 year from today when all of us are back on stage for Bitcoin 2026. And thinking about what we hope will happen by then, stablecoin bill will get passed, market structure bill will get passed, maybe if we're lucky Bitcoin Act bill will get passed, certainly the ETF adoption will have grown, certainly sovereign wealth adoption will have grown. So 1 year from today, and I want to get answers from all of you, finish this sentence. Bitcoin clears at least this price by 2026.
The moon.
Really, the moon? Moon. All right.
I think it clears 170,000. That's my prediction.
Don, what do you think about that? 170?
I was going to say between 175 and 150, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Well over 200,000.
Right. No, guys, I think Bitcoin's in the six figures, and if we do things right, it's going to 7. Got to put that out there.
And of course, none of this is financial advice. Got to hold these guys' feet to the fire to get an answer. But then besides price, like just, nothing to do with price, just as this industry is changing, and you guys are like 100% full in this industry now, and you guys have been for a while, like what are your predictions for how this industry does change, whether it has to do with, Bitcoin adoption, crypto adoption in the US specifically or around the world? What are you guys seeing?
I think you're going to have an industry that, if you look at the maturity of this conference, it's unlike any that I've been to before. This is the most mature conference that I think has been held in crypto. And if you go back even a year, right, it's very different. You have an industry that for the first time has a lot of really beautiful voices, a lot of really strong voices. You have an industry that's self-policing itself. You have an industry that's starting to focus on hospitality and user experience. You never had that before in crypto, and those were all kind of hindrances of the industry. And so the maturity of what's taking place, and by the way, the antis can no longer deny what's happening out there. I mean, every single day you had CNBC that was shitting on all of us and everything that we believed in. Now all of a sudden they're embracing it for the first time. I mean, isn't that a really beautiful thing? You had Jim Cramer going out there and saying that Bitcoin was going to go to 0 before it was going to go to 200,000, and now all of a sudden...
Inverse Cramer, baby. Inverse Cramer.
Now all of a sudden they're kind of biting their tongues. And so I think the best days of this are ahead of us. There's no question we're in the dial-up mode right now. The next 10 years are going to be absolutely parabolic. And the people that get in on the ground floors, I think, are going to make an absolute, fortune. And I think I just, if I could quickly say, on behalf of this group, the ABTC group, it's not even just getting in at par. These guys, based on how good they buy energy, are literally mining Bitcoin at $40,000 a coin, $41,000 a coin. There's no commodity in the world. Gold, you go out and mine gold right now, you're pretty much buying, you're mining gold at par, and you're selling it using complicated options and things like that to make small little spreads. What commodity in the world can you mine at this kind of margins if you do it the right way, if you have the backbone that HUD 8 has, if you have the power grid, if you have the cheapest energy in the world, which we're doing in the United States, in the great state of Texas, which the Trump family absolutely loves. And so it's so cool. It's like, you're able to go out, physically build these buildings, physically mine, use American energy in America to grab, one of the greatest assets the universe has ever seen that's appreciating at 50 or 60% year over year, and acquire it for 30 cents, 40 cents on the dollar. To me, it's like the coolest business model ever, and I've never been more proud to be part of something than we are with these incredible guys. So had a lot of fun. Consider these guys unbelievable friends, and sky's the limits for American Bitcoin.
And then final thoughts.
We
Anybody?
love you.
Thanks, Eric.
So I would say a decade ago, the crypto community we were seen as the misfits. It wasn't mainstream cool. It wasn't. But now that rhetoric is completely flipped. It's completely flipped. Now we're on par with where the sentiment of gold was 50 to 100 years ago. It was everyone's dream to own a nugget, a gold bar. Crypto has so much room to run, so much room to go. Bitcoin today is only 2 trillion. There's, I think, $400 trillion in the world across asset classes. It doesn't take very much. It doesn't take very much. It is, and I have to say, there are no two better people than the brothers on the stage here to bridge worlds. From hard assets to strategic finance, from private markets to capital markets, and to have a common tongue with so many different groups of people, from traditional finance to the crypto community and to the general public that haven't orange pilled yet. We're so excited to be on this mission with you guys.
Likewise, man. And we're excited to help, bring those people there. Like I said, I mean, relatively speaking, compared to the people in this room, we were late adapters, but we were pushed there out of necessity. We were pushed there because the conventional options were literally rugged from underneath us. And once we commit to something, though, we go all in. We are innovators. We're not just adapting this, we're adapting this out of necessity. And I think there's a lot of other people that perhaps don't have our platform or the ability to get it out there that way, that have been under those same pressures, and we're doing this for them.
It is ridiculous that Bitcoin Conference only gave us 30 minutes for this panel. We need 30 minutes per person. But guys, this was it. Give a big round of applause for Matt, Mike, Eric, and Don.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Vegas. We love you.
Let's go.
Guys, let's stand up on the front of the stage for pictures. Let's stand up here for pictures.
Thank you so much for that incredible panel. Wow, look at this crowd. This is incredible. This excitement is insane. I know 30 minutes was not enough for this incredible panel. Some super bullish predictions on this stage as well, which was incredible to listen to. And thank you so much to this incredible crowd as well. I love this excitement. It's incredible. I've got my astronaut suit. We're going to the moon, guys. We are going.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I appreciate you guys. Bitcoin, what's going on, man? Vegas, how are we? You guys are too nice. Wow, it's a big room, man. Shout out Bitcoin Mag. This is bigger than the empty closet, I'll tell you guys that much. I love you too, buddy. That's very sweet of you. All right, I really appreciate you guys making it all the way out to Vegas. We're gonna hang out for about 30 minutes. Next 30 minutes, you and me. We ready? Let's go? Let's go, I appreciate you guys. All right, the title of my talk, I call it the hodler's dilemma. I think it's a topic that we as Bitcoiners don't talk about enough. And in my opinion, I think the asset class has gotten big enough to where we're embarking on Bitcoin's new wealth paradigm, okay? So chapter 1, first of all, what's the problem? What are we out here to solve? Why are we all here on the Vegas Strip? Well, the problem is fiat currency, right? I call this the vicious fiat cycle. The problem is pretty simple. When the US government and the Federal Reserve prints dollars, those dollars become worth less. That makes the life that we all want further away, unachievable, not affordable, right? That then forces everyone to borrow. You get into debt. People are using credit cards, student loans, buy now, pay later, mortgages, all right? And this now has forced households are over $18 trillion in debt. Credit card debt's passed $1 trillion in the United States of America, okay? And the US dollar, since it was launched at the Federal Reserve a little over 100 years ago, has lost 97% of its purchasing power. And this cycle repeats because all of our paychecks in this room, I don't care who you are, all right, I don't care if you're Donald Trump, Michael Saylor, it doesn't matter. None of our wages are keeping up with the inflation of all of our assets. And this is the problem. This is why we're all here. I call this the vicious fiat cycle, right? And if you look, I mean, this is the growth of debt in the United States of America. If you're a millennial, if you're my age, if you were born in the last 20, 30 years, you want to own a car? Debt. You want to own a house? You can't afford a house. Take a mortgage for the rest of your life. You want to go to school? You want to go to Harvard? Did you work hard the first 18 years of your life? Debt. You need a student loan. You can't ever own assets. You're in a perpetual cloud of debt. This is the growth of credit card debt. And it's not just at the individual and the family home level. This is our federal government. And listen, I know every reporter wants to ask me, Republican, Democrat, left, right, up, down. Guys, it's a bipartisan thing. We're in a debt-based financial system, right? Yes. This is a chart. What shitcoin do you guys think this is? This is the US dollar. The best time to go to Whole Foods and buy eggs with your dollars was 1913. Every other time after that, you're getting screwed, right? Okay, now this is a little bit more interesting. Check this out. So the US dollar, we divorced from the gold standard in 1971. So I'm no artist, but I'm trying my best. That's where my arrow is pointing down on this slide. So you can see once we started to print money, right, and we're divorcing ourselves from the physical realities of Mother Nature, it's really benefited the top 1%. The rich have gotten a lot richer, and the rest 90% of us, we're the ones that have stagnated income, or now it's declining, right? Check this out. This is these red and green lines. These are the prices of a median house in New York and Boston. They're just getting more expensive. The bottom two lines, the gray and the pink, that's our income. We're not getting paid anymore, but the life around us is getting more expensive. Here's another one. How long does it take to save for a house? Well, while we were on the gold standard, it was a few years. Off the gold standard, it's a decade, right? This is my favorite. Okay, debt to go to Harvard. Okay, debt to get a house. Okay, debt to own a car. Debt to watch Justin Bieber? Debt to get a chicken sandwich? This is the problem with fiat currency. They print it, it becomes worth less. Our lives suck and get worse. We get in debt, we never escape it. We are slaves to the system, it is our burden to carry, right? I believe that the banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, the banks will deprive the people of all their property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. Thomas Jefferson. Current version of the dollar is not very American, but that's for a different presentation. How about Henry Ford? It is well enough that people do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe they would adopt Bitcoin before tomorrow morning. He said that, I swear, I was there. I was there. Okay, so what's the solution? I know a lot of you guys know some of this stuff. The solution's Bitcoin. It's pretty obvious, right? Bitcoin is the money that we conceived that nobody can print. You can't print it. You can't debase my time and energy. You cannot deprive me of owning assets, of getting out of debt, of living sovereignly and protecting my future, my family, my prized possessions. Bitcoin is what we invented to do that. And so on the left here, that's about every single property that you could ever want in a money, right? And let's look at the report card. I know I'm a college dropout, but let's check this report card. Gold. I mean, gold's like a passing C. It does some stuff well, other stuff not. Fiat, also kind of passing. It's a little worse student than gold. Bitcoin, straight A's, baby. Straight A's. It's fungible, it's portable, it's durable, it's divisible. You can't print it, it's programmable. People don't understand, Bitcoin's gonna be getting better forever because the story of humanity is engineering a better world, and this is technology, right? This is technology. Okay, let's look at the scoreboard. That was the report card, let's look at the scoreboard. Yeah, we're kicking ass and taking names. I mean, Bitcoin's the best performing asset in human history. This is compound annual growth rate, okay? So what's the average annual return of Bitcoin? You wanna look at it on a 1-year basis? They say, no, that's bias. It went up that last 1 year. Okay, fine, what you want? What do you want? 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, 6? What time frame do you wanna understand that Bitcoin is the solution to all 8 billion people's problem? You say, okay, yeah, but everything performs well against the dollar. My gym shoes are gonna go up in dollar terms by next year. This hoodie, this screen, this clicker. Okay, but what about Bitcoin priced in oil, which is energy, right? You need oil to fly here, you need oil to drive, you need oil to charge your phone. Okay, Bitcoin's outperforming it. What about a median house? Outperforming it. What about stocks? Outperforming it. What about groceries? Outperforming it. What about gold? Outperforming it. As Will Rogers said, the quickest way to double your money is to fold it and put it in Bitcoin. I swear, I was there, he said that. He said that. Okay, so the first 2 chapters, pretty simple. Fiat sucks and is making everybody poor through violence, and is just a terrible, malicious thing that government and central banks do. Bitcoin is our solution, a peaceful revolution that all of us in this room have contributed to. I'm very proud of every one of us for getting this asset class to where we are right now, here in this moment, okay? But what I don't think we talk about enough is what I call the hodler's dilemma, okay? My girlfriend is oh, I see her. My girlfriend is here. I was practicing, I was giving her my presentation, I was asking for some feedback, and she said, hey, I'm a little embarrassed, but where did HODL come from? Why isn't it just hold? I heard on CNBC, they said it stands for hold on for dear life. No, that's not necessarily correct. A little Bitcoin history for you guys. HODL comes from a Bitcoin talk post in 2013. My speaker notes here are a little too small for me to read it, so I'm gonna turn around. Sorry. Oh, I actually didn't mean to do that, but I got the HODL message on my back. Here, check this out. By the way, I don't know if you guys can see, but everything is spelled wrong. This guy was wasted. Ready? I typed that title twice because I knew it was wrong the first time. Still wrong, whatever. My girlfriend's out at an amazing bar. Bitcoin's crashing, but why am I hodling? I'll tell you why. It's because I'm a bad trader, and I know I'm a bad trader. Yeah, you good traders can spot the highs and the lows, pit, path, piffy, wing, wong, wang, and just like that, make $1 million bucks. Sure, no problem, bro. Likewise, the weak hands are like, oh no, it's going down, I'm gonna sell. He, and then they're like, oh my God, my behind. When the smart traders who know what the hell they're doing buy back in. But you know what? I'm not part of that group. When the traders buy back in, I'm already part of the market. So guess who you're cheating, day traders? Not me. Those taunt threads saying, oh yeah, you should have sold. Yeah, no shit. No shit, I should have sold. I should have sold moments before every sell, and I should have bought moments before every buy. But you know what? Not everybody is as cool as you. You only sell in a bear market if you are a good trader or an illusion noob. The people in between, we hold. In a zero-sum game, such as Bitcoin, traders can only make money on you if you sell. So I've had some whiskey. Actually, on the bottle, it's spelled whiskey. Whatever, sue me, but only if it's payable in Bitcoin. Now, yeah. That's a little history. I hope CNBC is out here in the crowd. You guys, that's the origin of HODL. It's a meme. The meme is very powerful, though, is that what if we had the scarcest, hardest money in human history? Would it be just as simple as working hard and saving it and never selling? You don't need to be a trader. You don't need to study Japanese central bank monetary policy. You just gotta HODL. And that meme has taken us so far to where this is what who is now our current president of the United States said at this conference last year.
In Bitcoin or 1% of the total supply that will ever exist. But for too long, our government has violated the cardinal rule that every Bitcoiner knows by heart. Never sell your Bitcoin, right? That's right, isn't it, huh? That's right. How did I figure that one? Never sell your Bitcoin. And so, as the final part of my plan today, I am announcing that if I am elected, it will be the policy of my administration, United States of America, to keep 100% of all the Bitcoin the U.S. government currently holds or acquires into the future. We'll keep 100%. I hope you do well, please.
So powerful meme. We went one night, we had way too much whiskey, and now the United States has a Bitcoin strategic reserve, right? And it's never sell your Bitcoin. And to be honest, it's kind of simple. Like, let me ask you guys a question. How much of the money that only goes down, it's never done anything besides go down, how much of that would you want to own? Well, none of it, right? Yeah, of course. Okay, what about the one that's historically it just goes up? If you just hold it and you don't trade it, it just goes up. How much of that would you want to own? Well, probably as much as I possibly could, right? And so this was me. Last January, I officially owned $0, right? And so I'm like, man, President Trump, the HODL drunk guy that drinks a lot of whiskey, like, let's go. I'm gonna own as much as I can, screw the dollar, right? But this is the hodler's dilemma, is like, then I had to sell it. I didn't have any dollars to spend. So some of you in the audience that troll me on Twitter, you're like, bro, I thought you were one of us. You're selling Bitcoin? I'm like, dude, what do you want me to starve myself to death? I had to. I didn't own any dollars. And so this is the dilemma. Every Bitcoiner faces this fork in their life, right? Because the reality is this, guys, money is a means. It's not an end, right? Money itself is not valued for the literal piece of paper or the little bytes of data. It's valued because of the things that it can get you, right? Nobody wants a green piece of paper or the physical Bitcoin itself. We all want what those things can get us, right? We all want to go to school and make best friends. We all want to get married and fall in love and buy a house that is really beautiful and start a family. All right, my family's here. And this is what it was like to start Strike. And start a business. Take a vacation, see the world. Just like do stuff, right? Be adventurous, right? You have to live your life. Now, I've met a lot of people in my 31 years on this planet. I've had a hell of a career so far. I've never met the man that has 10,000 Bitcoin but is homeless, starving, and sick. Never. I've always met the guy that would sell a little bit to live his life. And that's the dilemma. All right. Have you guys ever heard this folktale, The Miser and His Gold? Have you ever heard this folktale? So the miser and his gold, the miser had buried his gold in a secret place in his garden. Okay? Every day, he went to that spot, he dug up the treasure of gold, and he counted it piece by piece just to make sure it was all there. He made so many trips back and forth that a thief recognized what he was doing, guessed there was value there, and one night quietly dug up the treasure and made off with the gold. Okay? When the miser discovered that he had lost his gold, he was overcome with grief and despair. He groaned and cried and tore his hair. A passerby heard his cries and asked what had happened. "My gold! Oh, my gold!" cried the miser wildly. "Someone robbed me." "Your gold? In that hole? Why would you put the gold there? Why did you not keep it safe in your house where you could easily spend it if you needed to spend it?" And the miser screamed, "By golly, I would never spend my gold. I couldn't think of spending it." And the stranger picked up a large rock and he put it in the hole. And he said, "If that's the case, cover up that stone with dirt. It's worth just as much as the treasure that you were going to stare at for the rest of your life." All right? And so a possession in any of our lives, whether you're a Bitcoiner or not, it's worth no more than the use we make of it. And to be honest, all of us in this room as Bitcoiners, we're on the right side of the greatest wealth transfer in human history. And I'm not going to tell you guys what to do with your wealth and with your Bitcoin. For me personally, what I believe is, we have a responsibility to do well for the world. Part of the reason I'm excited about our future is because all of us are amassing wealth and we can change things and we can do stuff and we can get married and have kids and set a new standard for what society should be, right? And so knock, knock. Who's there? Hodl. Hodl who? Nobody hodls, right? And this is my point, right? Steve Jobs, remember that you are going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking that you have Bitcoin to lose. Okay? So you can't hodl forever, right? And this is the fork we all deal with. But the point I want to make here in this keynote is that has everyone throughout human history parted with scarcity when they needed cash? If the earliest investors of Manhattan, when their kid was like, "Hey, Dad, I want to go to Harvard," we're like, "Shit, I got to sell these 20 blocks of Manhattan to pay for your tuition," right? What about all the land that people have owned, or the real estate in New York, or the amazing tech stocks, right? The answer is obviously not. Borrowing against scarcity is a timeless solution. This is the Dutch and British East India companies. These companies pioneered global trade in the 600s. I'm taking you way back. But they were the first to ever collateralize their assets to borrow and perpetuate their growth. The point was, we have scarce desirable good. Try not to get rid of it. And they were able to borrow against it. How were the US railroads built? Does anyone know? Mortgage government land agreements. They collateralized the land to find the cash to build the railroads. They did not sell the United States to build the railroads. They borrowed against it. This picture is the Rockefeller Center being built. New York City was entirely built. Guys, your great-great-great-great-grandfather, the legend that bought 20 blocks of New York 400 years ago, he's a legend because he didn't sell it. That's why he's a legend. And New York was built on, I have blocks of land. I'm going to borrow against it to build a building. I'm going to borrow against the building to build a bar. You do not get rid of the scarce desirable asset and hold the pieces of paper that these governments print, right? This is Elon Musk. Tesla had to put a cap on how much this guy was borrowing against his shares, okay? And so my point is Bitcoin is not different. Bitcoin is next, okay? Yeah. So this is my favorite. But bro, Bitcoin has no cash flow. Right? Here's Peter Schiff. Where is he? Is he here? I love you, Peter. I love you. Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. No cash flow, no earnings, no dividend. Its value is what the next fool will pay. I don't know what year he said this, but I think it was around $1,000 per Bitcoin, okay? I think that this is stupid, okay? What has cash flows but doesn't? And the answer is Bitcoin. The point is every asset has an expected cash flow, okay? My point is this. On the left, this is what I call, and Ross Stevens, shout out Ross Stevens, calls issuer cash flow. That's a government bond. And this is the cash flow everyone's used to. You buy a 10-year, And the government, the issuer of that tenure, pays you the interest, right? So they're making payments to you for owning that asset. And yes, that's cash flow. I call that issuer cash flow. They're making payments. Now on the right, Bitcoin's cash flow, or screw Bitcoin for a second. Everyone in here, I'd hope so, unless you're homeless, you live in a house. And let's say you own that house. That house would generate cash flow when? When you sell it, right? So everything you own can generate cash flow. Sometimes the cash flow is because there's a dividend, or there's interest yield, or for what you're renting out in Airbnb, right? The other is when you have an asset and you own it, and you can always generate cash by simply selling it, right? So here's Bitcoin data. This is if you were to buy DCA, dollar cost average, $100 of Bitcoin a week over the last 4 years, you would have bought a little over $20,000 worth of Bitcoin, and it'd be worth over $60,000. And if you wanted cash flow, you could get $60,000 worth of cash flow just by selling the Bitcoin. Duh, okay? What about 6 years from now? You'd have over 160 grand of cash flow. What about 8 years? What about 10 years? You'd have millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin if you just bought every single week $100 at a time. To say that this asset doesn't generate cash flow, in my opinion, is stupid. Everything generates cash flow. If you want cash, you historically just had to sell it, right? Now, we know that you can get cash from Bitcoin by selling it. The question I want to ask you guys, and why I'm here, is can we generate cash while still owning it? And that's the hodler's dilemma. Every other asset class has solved this problem. No one's had to sell their New York real estate. Elon Musk doesn't have to sell his Tesla stock. The great Indian trade companies did not have to sell their cargo ships and their cargo carriers. Why do we have to sell our Bitcoin? Because in theory, Bitcoin is the best collateral known to man. Like if you just wanted to measure collateral, right? Traditional collateral versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin's faster, it's more portable, it's more divisible, it's easier to custody, right? You can't print any more of it. It's divisible. Guys, if I were a lender trying to give a loan to someone and there was an emergency and they gave me their house as collateral, how would I sell the 4th bedroom in the attic on a Sunday night if something went wrong? I can't do that. But I can with Bitcoin, right? I can. And so if you stack up Bitcoin as collateral against all these other things, it kicks its butt. You can post collateral in minutes. Its market hours are 24/7. It's global. It's liquid in every single currency that you could possibly want. Anyone in the world can get a collateralized loan from this. You live in New York, you live in Chicago, you live in Ghana, anyone can access this collateral, save, and borrow against it. So if Bitcoin is the best collateral of all time, why are we facing this dilemma? Why has borrowing against Bitcoin been so difficult, okay? And this is, in my opinion, as the founder of Strike, what we've identified is that historically, lenders have rehypothecated Bitcoin. The rates are outrageous. You can't get the right size loan. Some lenders can't go low enough to meet your needs. Some lenders can't be institutional grade. And then just the experience, being able to refinance a loan, multiple loans, being able to easily withdraw the cash, post collateral, meet your margin calls, okay? Like, I just want to show you guys, so a traditional margin loan, and for those that don't know what that is, take your stock portfolio. If you wanted to get a loan against that, this is the overnight funds rate, plus that's 0.5% to 1.5%. So when Elon Musk gets a loan, Elon Musk is getting rates at like 4, 5, 6, 7%. If we all wanted a loan on our Bitcoins, the market before I got on this stage was like 20%, 15%, extremely high, outrageous. And when everyone says, all these professional economists, they're like, well, Bitcoin's risky, it's volatile. No, it's not. This is the Magnificent Seven's 1-year volatility, and the orange one in the middle is Bitcoin. It's no more risky and volatile. Okay, I give it to you. It's a little bit more volatile than Apple, but it's far less volatile than Tesla. Why am I paying 20% a year for a loan? Screw you, it didn't make any sense to me, right? This is Bitcoin's volatility. So the pink and the green is Bitcoin's volatility, the orange is Bitcoin's price, okay? So you can clearly see, it took a toddler to be able to recognize this. As Bitcoin matures, its volatility goes down. And Bitcoin's volatility is at a point now where it's no more risky than a Tesla stock. We should not be paying double-digit rates for a loan. We should not have to have lenders that are rehypothecating, right? For the life of me, I could not understand. I own $0, and I'd have to sell my Bitcoin over the last year to live my life. And for the life of me, I could not wrap my head around why this market was so screwed up. And so that brings me to our announcement. So I personally believe the future of Bitcoin and lending is now. I think this asset class obviously started at zero, where there was no wealth in this asset. It's now over $2 trillion in market cap, meaning there is $2 trillion of newly created wealth that all of us in this room play a part in owning. We want access to that wealth. We want to get married. We want to buy a house. We have an emergency medical situation. We want to start a business, but we don't want to sell the sats. And so at Strike, we built it. So about a month ago, we launched our Bitcoin lending product. And I'm a big fan of just get the product to market. You know, I'm not a genius that predicts what you guys want and how you want it. I like getting things in your hands, opening my Twitter account, taking all the abuse that you give me, but it's good feedback. And it's like, okay, you guys want cheaper rates. You want to make sure your collateral's not rehypothecated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I told you guys, before the end of the month, I would do it for you. I promise, I'm a man of my word. I try and be. And so I want to talk to you guys about where Strike's lending product is today, because I think you're going to be really excited. First of all, no rehypothecation, okay? But yes, your collateral, when deposited to Strike, it sits with us and the partners, and it does not move. It sits in a Bitcoin address. It is your collateral for the duration of your loan. We couldn't quite make it for this announcement. We are excited for a proof of reserves version of this product, but we do not rehypothecate anything. The Bitcoin never moves. There's no yield, there's no gimmicks, there's no nothing. You deposit the Bitcoin, it sits right here securely through the duration of your loan. Okay, I want to make that, someone clip this and tweet it. I could not make that more clear. Cool? Cool. Next, yes, what about costs? I believe, and I don't want to misrepresent, so take it with a grain of salt, but I believe we are the first financial institution of our scale, size, and caliber that is regulated that is now officially giving out loans for a single-digit interest rate. By the way, if you wanted to get a home equity loan from Bank of America, it'll cost you 9.5%. We have finally found the capital and driven this market down where we can give you a single-digit Bitcoin loan. Again, it is unbelievable. I'm so proud of the team. You guys can go to our website and check out the tiers and see where you would fit in. We've also dropped our minimums all the way down to 10K, okay? And so we will serve as low as a $10,000 loan, and on a per loan basis, I could give you guys up to $1 billion, okay? So Nayib Bukele, if you're out there, you want a loan, I got you, brother, I got you. Okay, President Trump, I got you, got you. We also rolled out today multiple loans. So you can open up as many loans on Strike as you want. Think the current, we have it at 3. We're gonna keep raising that, okay? Just bear with us as we scale. But the point is, you can open up a new loan to pay off and refinance your old loan. You can open up a new one at a different Bitcoin price, different terms, whatever. Multiple loans, refinancing this product. And then also, I just want to mention that Strike's a financial service, right? And so we've had customers that needed to make a down payment on a home in about 30 minutes, and they were able to do that. Download Strike, deposit Bitcoin. There's no credit checks. So, one customer called me and said, Jack, trust me, I went to Stanford. I can say, no, yeah, you don't need to prove to me who you are. I got the Bitcoin. It's sitting here in the address. Take the cash, go buy your house, right? Withdraw it easily to your bank, pay your bills, buy more Bitcoin. And so this is where the product is. We're going to bring it to Africa, Latin America, Europe, the UK. We're going to expand it, but we are beyond excited. I've almost taken it a bit personally to try and pioneer this. I really do not want Bitcoiners to have to sell their Bitcoin if they can responsibly borrow against it. So the last thing I just want to say, at Strike, we build products we want. I want you guys to know I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Now, a lot of you are like, does Strike have a Bitcoin treasury? We don't know how much Bitcoin they own. Do they actually believe in the products they sell? So I put out our financials about a month ago as I launched, another company, 21. I wanted you guys to get some transparency. Do you know some of the earliest customers of our product? Me and my company, okay? So at Strike, these are some of our financials, but Strike owns 1,500 Bitcoin in our treasury. So I'm a humble stat sacker, baby. You know that. You know that. And I want you guys to know it's for both individuals and businesses. And so hopefully this draws some inspiration for the people out in the room. If you're a business and you sweep your cash flows into Bitcoin that's compounding at 50, 60% a year, you have a capital base, a savings account that's actually working for you. If we have 150, 200, $500 million on our balance sheet at Strike, let's say I need to go get a license in Australia for $1 million. I could borrow against a fraction of our stack, go buy the license, launch in Australia. It's an amazing way, no dilution, no selling our sats, right? It's a beautiful for both businesses and consumers, and the way I use it personally is the same thing. I borrow against 2 to 5% of my personal stack. If the market goes down, I can over-collateralize. And since the product launched, I was the earliest beta customer, and I've never sold a sat since. I have not sold Bitcoin since this product launched, which is amazing. And I live on Bitcoin. So anyways, I had the vicious fiat cycle, right? And this is the one that we're trying to build. And it's not just us. There's great companies doing similar stuff. But if you could borrow fiat, keep Bitcoin off the market, that accelerates the death of this awful thing, which increases Bitcoin's utility. We're seeing Bitcoiners now tap into their capital and change the world, get married, buy a house, and it repeats, and it builds on itself, okay? So I want to tell you guys quickly, please be responsible. This is debt. Debt, it's like fire, in my opinion. It can heat a civilization. It can warm a home. But if you go too crazy, you're going to burn your house down, okay? It's only responsible that I tell you, you got to be careful. Please be responsible. This is not a silver bullet, okay? But if we can, as an industry, continue to push and mature this asset class, make sure that hodlers do not have to face the dilemma. They don't have to part with their sats, but we can tap into the wealth we're building and continue to change the world. As my friend Ross Stevens said, life is short. Take the trip. But with Bitcoin, you just get to take a better one, okay? Thank you, guys.